Travis Reier and Charlie Potter of the BamaOnline.com staff with another edition of Instant Analysis, midweek edition, Charlie, as the Crimson Tide comes off an impressive showing against the Wisconsin Badgers out in Arlington, Texas in the season opener. Next up, Middle Tennessee comes to Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday for the 2015 season opener. And Charlie, first of all, the vibe around this team right now. I know Saban he is wont to do in situations like this, sent a little message on Monday, and I'm sure that's something he's continued through the week, is that, it was a nice win over Wisconsin, but you got to bounce back and play a solid mid-major in MTSU.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sandwich game for Alabama. You have a solid season opening opponent in Wisconsin, and Ole Miss is coming to town next week. They don't want to overlook Middle Tennessee, and there's really no reason to. I mean, they put up more than 600 yards of offense in their season opener. I think 95 plays and scored 70 points. So, I mean, this team can score. It's an offense that Alabama isn't necessarily as well equipped for as it is Wisconsin. So they're going to have to prepare pretty well this week. I mean, I see Alabama winning. I don't see an upset by any means, but it's a good primer for the Ole Miss game.
And probably the best thing Saban has working in his favor is that there's still competition going on within this team. Yeah, it looks like guys have nailed down jobs to start the season. But they had just enough questions in that game against Wisconsin that they have guys that need to really validate whether they played well or fix some things that they didn't play so well this week. And it starts really at the quarterback position. Jacob Coker looked great against Wisconsin, exactly what they need him to do. But he needs to do that 2 games in a row before you really start to sense that there's a big-time confidence with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll still see 2 quarterbacks, but I think at this point it's Jacob Coker's race to lose. That wasn't the feeling going into Wisconsin. We thought he would start because, I think he had earned that because no one had really separated themselves, and he had been the constant in the quarterback race. You'd heard a new guy, kind of emerge every day, it felt like, but Coker was the constant. But, I think like you said, he needs to string a couple games together before you go in as a starter in an SEC opponent. And, I don't know what he'll face necessarily defensively against the Blue Raiders, but I mean, it'd be a challenge from the home crowd. They're expecting a lot of things. So if he can come out and do what he did last week, then it should be okay for him. But I still think that we see Cooper Bateman a decent amount this week.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we see both, and maybe we see a good bit of Cooper Bateman if things go according to plan. At least to our plan. Saban says there is no plan for anything like that. He's expecting 4 hard quarters. But you look at MTSU defensively, or at least I have a little bit so far this week, gave up some yards through the air to Jackson State in their opener on Saturday. So you got to think that this is an offense that should be able to carry over from that standpoint. Maybe in the running game, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake coming off big games. Another game where you could see a lot of Damian Harris. You want to get Drake and Henry the work they need, but you know that there is a fist fight coming up a week from Saturday night with that Ole Miss defense coming to town. So you want those guys as fresh as they can be, but you still have to take care of business. But Damian Harris, a guy I think we probably see a good bit of, and not just in 1 series or 2 series like it was the other night.
Oh yeah, I think he'll get the majority of the carries when you look at the stat sheet at the end of the game. Derrick Henry only saw 13 carries last week, which was more than enough for what he did, and I think that's about what we see, maybe even less this week. But I just think that Damian Harris looked like a freshman in the first game, so I think this will be a good opportunity for him to kind of bounce back. I don't think he had necessarily a bad game, but you want to see him come out and get a lot of carries, which I think he'll get.
As much as for him, that second-team offensive line needs to show a little bit better. I don't think that Saban was entirely pleased maybe with their play once they got in there against Wisconsin. Now, defensively, MTSU, you said it, 95 plays in their season opener. They like to go with some tempo and some pace. So this is kind of what Saban has developed this alter ego for this defense for, because so many teams do exactly what they're going to see from MTSU on Saturday night. So the secondary specifically, I thought we saw some good things back there from guys you expected to see good things from, specifically Cyrus Jones. But young guys, this is a big week for a guy like Marlon Humphrey and Minka Fitzpatrick. Not so much in terms of the physical talent that MTSU is going to present, but the style of play is something they really need to get used to.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that Marlon and Minka looked bad out there, but they had their moments. You could tell they were first-time starters, especially on that touchdown that Minka gave up where he was falling and basically tripped the wide receiver into the end zone to catch the football. I think it'll be a week for them to bounce back, and as you said, this is going to be an offense that's challenging for them from a system standpoint. Is what they're going to see a lot of. So I think it's an important week for them, especially with the depth at corner and start behind them. There are guys that are eager to get in there. I don't think they're going to lose their starting jobs unless they completely just come out and crap the bed. But it'll be interesting to see that. And then from the safety position, I thought Eddie Jackson looked pretty solid out there in his debut at that position. Geno Smith looked good too, but when Geno came out with the second unit, Ronnie Harrison and those younger guys didn't look so good. So it'll be a good opportunity for all of them in the secondary.
It will, and you said it, that this secondary's kind of been built for this type of offense. When you've got as many former corners on the field that they have, this is where that should show up. Ball skills, playmaking ability, all those things against a team that'll probably throw it around a pretty good bit. The kicking game, saved the worst for last, I guess, but Adam Griffith misses a couple of field goals last Saturday night. J.K. Scott, the worst game of his young career. That's an area where they definitely need to solid some things up before what could be a very close game with Ole Miss.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Adam Griffith missed field goals, and that's been, what people have seen from him in the past, but I don't think they were necessarily bad kicks.
No.
Especially that last one that was just a little bit to the right. From the press box, I thought it was in. We were even sitting at an angle, and I was like, I was typing up a tweet that he had made it, and they said he missed it. So, I think they were decent kicks. It's just, I think that last one he was overcompensating for maybe the wide left kick at first. And then J.K. Scott, I was completely baffled by what happened. You had heard that he had some inconsistencies with his drops. And that showed, and I would like to think it was just him trying not to hit that big screen, but I don't think that was his big problem. So this will definitely be a week for them to try to get on the right path.
Yeah, definitely. I don't worry about J.K. Scott at this point. We've seen too many good things, and the drop is just a matter of cleaning it up a little bit, and I think we see him get back on track and not press. He had a great year last year, but you don't have to average 50 this year to have a great year. If you average 47 or 46, even a little bit under what you averaged last year, it's going to be a great year. So interesting to watch that as well. As far as an outcome, I'm thinking, something in the neighborhood of 45-14, something like that. Score, it shouldn't matter, you wouldn't think. I mean, it obviously matters, but in terms of breaking down this game, it's one Alabama should handle and win fairly easily. The only news that can come out of a game like this is bad news. Either you didn't play up to the capability you should have played up to, and injuries, which Alabama came through Wisconsin, it looks like in pretty good shape. Yeah,
I mean, you're right. The only news that they could get out of this, outside of maybe Coker just completely going off and basically without naming a starter, could be injuries. I was really surprised. Knock on wood, that nobody came out injured in that Wisconsin game, just because how physical it was with how the offenses and defensive operate. But that'll be a big thing. I mean, that Ole Miss game is a game that everybody's had circled on their calendar, and you don't want to have a bunch of guys banged up before that. I'm probably in the same boat as you. I would probably go about the 49-52 range, maybe to 10. I say 49 because I don't know how many field goals they'll attempt after this first week, but that's probably what I would go with.
So that's just about going to do it for Charlie Potter. That's Robert Ory back there, by the way, if you were wondering. I'm Travis Reier. Join us again real soon for another edition of Instant Analysis right here on BamaOnline.com.